Hey y'all, welcome back to MamaFin's Kitchen. It is a Monday night and it is cold and crummy here in Kansas. I think it's about 5 or 6 degrees outside, and with the wind chill, I think we're sitting on about -9 degrees, something like that. And a cold, crummy winter night like tonight just screams goulash to me. So tonight we are going to make a pressure cooker goulash for you and teach you how to do that in your Instant Pot. So you'll want to get out your 6-quart Instant Pot tonight, and let's talk about your cast of characters. Now, if you are looking for a Hungarian traditional goulash, this is not it. This is a Midwestern, my mama used to make it when I was a little girl, ground beef, pasta, tomatoes, peppers, onions, goulash. If that's what you're looking for, you're at the right place. If you want a Hungarian goulash, that's not tonight. We may have to do that some other time, but it ain't tonight. Let's talk about your cast of characters and then the ingredients that you're gonna need for your goulash. Your Instant Pot, number one. Like I said, I'm going to use a 6-quart tonight to make this, but get yourself your 6-quart Instant Pot. A little bit of Pam to spray that insert will be really helpful. A nice quality olive oil to saute your onions and peppers in. This is one from California. It happened to be one of my vendors sent it to me for Christmas as a Christmas gift, and it is wonderful. But get yourself a nice high quality olive oil, and we'll use that to saute off our veggies. You'll want a box of rotini or spiral pasta. If you can get, this one happens to be a 1-pound box, so if you buy it in the bag, just get you a 1-pound bag. It's going to take about 3 cups. There's usually about 4 cups inside here. We'll only use about 3 cups tonight, so you'll have a little bit of pasta probably left over. I like to use the spiral cut just because I like how the sauce grabs onto all those little spirals and gets in all those little nooks and crannies, and it really is delicious. But if all you have is elbow or penne or something of that ilk, that works too. Doesn't really matter what shape it is, but I do like the spiral kind, just because I like how the sauce gets in all the crannies. You'll want some salt and pepper, some fresh garlic if you've got it. If you don't have fresh garlic, but you have the minced garlic in your fridge in the little jar, that'll work too, or the squeezy bottle kind, that works too. Even garlic powder will work, but fresh garlic will be great, and it will be your friend if you've got it handy. I do like to buy it in these little vacuum sealed pouches because I can keep it in my refrigerator. It lasts for a really long time, and then I always have fresh garlic, and it's already peeled for me, and it's on the little cloves, which is fantastic because I hate peeling garlic. You'll want a green pepper. You'll want a yellow onion. If it's on the smaller side like this one is, we'll use the whole onion. If you have a great big one, we'll probably use half of it. So you'll want about this size. It'll probably end up being maybe 3/4 of a cup or a cup of diced yellow onions. Just kind of use that in your head of about how many you'll want, something like that. You'll want a can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. And if you don't have fire roasted, that's totally fine. Most of the time I use just regular diced tomatoes, but I happen to have this fire roasted one in my pantry, and then we're going to use it. It will just add a little extra flavor, a little extra depth. But if you don't have it, all you have is petite diced tomatoes, go for it. You can even throw in a can of Rotel. If that's all you have, throw the Rotel in. It'll be a little bit spicier, no big deal. 1 small can of tomato juice. This one is 5.5 fluid ounces. They come in a little 6-pack. I like to keep them on hand because I use them for chili and stuff like that in the wintertime. 1 little can of tomato juice. You'll want some tomato paste. And as we've talked before, you know I like to buy my tomato paste in these little tubes that looks like toothpaste. And you can tell I've already used this one a little bit. He's been in the refrigerator. That's why I like it in the tubes. You can open it, use a couple tablespoons out of it, put the lid on and stick it in the fridge. Instead of having the little can that's about this size where you use a little bit out and then you think, how in the world am I going to store that can? So I love it in the tubes like this. We'll need some low sodium chicken broth. You'll need about 3 cups, which is there's 4 cups in this box, so we'll use about 3/4 of this box. Some crushed red pepper and some paprika. I'm going to use Hungarian paprika tonight, but if you don't have Hungarian paprika, you have smoked paprika or yours just says paprika, totally fine. Use it. Use what you got in your kitchen. Don't go buy something special just for this. And you'll need ground beef. Now, mine is home-raised ground beef, so mine looks a little bit different. It comes in one of these little packages in my freezer all the time, but you'll need 1 pound of ground beef. Use yourself a nice lean ground beef, not too much fat because we're not going to drain the fat off. So mine is a nice lean ground beef. I don't have to drain it, which makes it really, really convenient, and the little bit of fat that's in there is just extra flavor in our goulash. We're gonna get started here, but we'll prep our ingredients. Go ahead and dice your green pepper, go ahead and dice your onion and get those ready. And if you've got a microplane, pull that booger out because we'll use it to grate the garlic right in and you don't even have to mince it. If you don't have a microplane, mince up your garlic, but a microplane is a handy dandy tool to have in your kitchen that will help you lots and lots of ways, and it will help tonight when we go to put the garlic in. Get yourself ready, get your cast of characters assembled, and we'll get ready to make goulash. Okay, y'all, we have prepped our ingredients. We have got our onions and our peppers diced. And the first thing I want you to do is take your Instant Pot, make sure that the insert is in it. Okay? Rule number 1, always make sure your insert is in the Instant Pot. Turn it on to saute, and I want you to turn it on to saute. If yours happens to have various levels of low, medium, and high, make sure it's on high. We want to saute and brown this hamburger off at the highest level. The second part I want you to be aware of is if you happen to have one of these handy dandy mix and chops or stir and chop, I think it's called a mix and chop from Pampered Chef, get this booger out. This is fantastic for browning off your ground beef down inside this insert. First thing I want you to do is spray that insert with just a little bit of Pams, just to help avoid any sticking or anything like that. And then I want you to take just a little bit of olive oil, put down in that insert, like so. Not a lot, because you'll get fat from the beef too, but I want you to go ahead and just put a little bit of olive oil in there to get started on these beautiful green peppers and onions that we have here. We've diced these off, and we're gonna go ahead and get these sauteing. Put your green peppers and your onions down in your insert. I want those to get a jump on sauteing here real quick, You will immediately start to smell those onions, which is fantastic. Go ahead and open up your ground beef that you've got. If you've got the container from the store, that's great. If you've got one like this in these little tubes from your local butcher, also great. Whatever works, but we're gonna crumble that ground beef down inside here as well. I want you to brown off this ground beef, so that'll take just a few minutes. You crumble him down in there, top of those veggies. And the reason I tell you this mix and chop is super duper handy, if you've got one of these from Pampered Chef, this mix and chop like this, it is fantastic for getting down inside this pot and chopping up that ground beef. I love it because it has this nice long handle, so when you're down inside, so you don't steam the hair right off your arm. It's really fantastic, but you can break up that hamburger down inside there and get it nice and browned off. So be patient with it while it browns off that ground beef down in there. While our ground beef is browning off, I want to talk to you really quick about one thing in your Instant Pot, and that is crushed red pepper. We said we're going to put some crushed red pepper in this, and I want to caution you when using crushed red pepper in your pressure cooker. I want you to use about half as much as your recipe. Like if you're taking your recipe and translating it into the pressure cooker, I want you to use about half as much as what you normally would in your pressure cooker. So if your normal recipe calls for 1 teaspoon, use half a teaspoon. If it calls for half a teaspoon, use a 1/4 teaspoon. The reason I tell you that is because crushed red pepper is a lot of the seeds from from a pepper. Those seeds have the oil from those peppers in here, because this pressure cooker cooks at tremendous pressure and it's pushing pressure through the food. It pushes it through the ingredients that are inside of this. It will push oils out of these seeds. It will make things hotter than what you're used to if you've done it on the stove and boiled it, etc., because it's putting under tremendous pressure. So if you're used to using 1 teaspoon to get the hotness and the spiciness that you like, use half a teaspoon until you figure out in your pressure cooker what it takes for your particular liking and your taste. On this recipe, I've got it listed for you to have a half a teaspoon. That means in my normal, if I would have done it on the stovetop, I probably would have used closer to a teaspoon. That makes it a pretty good spice level. If you want things less spicy, cut that down to like a quarter of a teaspoon if you want to, until you figure out how spicy things are for your family. We like things a little bit spicier in our family, so it's okay. But if you don't like things really spicy, cut that down to about a quarter teaspoon. If you want it even more spicy, add a little bit more. The thing that I would tell you is that you can always add more red pepper after it's done cooking to get it spicier if you want, or when you go to serve it. If your husband or your wife likes things a lot spicier, you can always add a little bit to their bowl before you serve it, etc. Just be careful when you're doing it for the broader group, especially, and it's one of the few spices that does that, and it's because of the oils in the crushed red pepper itself and in the seeds. Just be careful and use caution until you get used to using it in your pressure cooker and you know how much it's going to take for the liking of your family. Okay? I just don't want you to blow anybody's head off. So our ground beef is almost done here. You can see that a lot of the pinkness is gone, and so we're just about done with the sauteing part and the browning of it off. There is just a little bit left of the pink, which is okay because it's going to continue to saute here. But what I want you to go ahead and do while it's finishing its saute is I want you to get your garlic out. And we're going to use several cloves right at the moment. Usually about 3 cloves, 3 or 4, depending on how garlicky you like things and how big the cloves are. But this is where it is really handy dandy if you've got a microplane. If you've got a microplane in your kitchen, go ahead and pull this booger out because it's really convenient just to take your cloves of garlic and just microplane them right into your pot. A microplane is very, very convenient for this. Like I said, I don't like to mince garlic by hand. I don't like to, it gets kind of sticky, I feel like. So I don't love to do that. But if you like to mince garlic by hand, go for it. But a microplane is really good for garlic like this. It's great for zesting your citrus fruits, lemons, limes, oranges, etc. into recipes that you might have that called for. It's also really convenient for doing fresh cinnamon, if you want to grate a cinnamon stick, or fresh nutmeg, anything like that. Anything that or you can even do freshly grated Parmesan cheese or Parmigiano Reggiano, Grana Padano, etc. over the top of Italian dishes if you've made spaghetti for your family, etc. It's super great to do for that too, even like tableside, kind of what you used to get at maybe like an Olive Garden, or if you've got a local Italian restaurant, a Paisano's here in Topeka, etc. Giorgio's, etc. Boy, that shows my age. Giorgio's was a long time ago here, but Paisano's, Olive Garden, etc. Those freshly grated Parmesans are really great. So go ahead and get your garlic zested and grated down in there. It's going to dissolve right in. You won't have great big huge chunks of garlic, which is also kind of nice. That it will dissolve in and get all that flavor, and it will cook really fast in that ground beef, so you won't have any raw garlic taste happening. You're going to want to go ahead and put in your paprika, and we want 2 teaspoons of paprika. And like I said, we're going to use about a half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. Go ahead and put that in. Stir that around. I want you to put in some salt. We're going to put in about a teaspoon of salt. Then I want you to, some freshly grated black pepper down in there to the tune of about a teaspoon, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of freshly grated black pepper. You can see that paprika and some of those little crushed red pepper flakes down there. Fantastic. But got your paprika turning beautiful reddish color down in there. We go ahead and put in your tomato paste. You want about 4 tablespoons. The tubes have 10 tablespoons. So it's just not quite half a tube that you're going to want to put in there. There's 10 tablespoons in there, sorry. So you want only about a quarter of that tube, not quite. Wow, can't do fractions today, Laura. It's Monday for sure. But anyway, you want about 4 tablespoons worth down in there. And I want you to go ahead and put that tomato paste in and let it cook for just a little bit until that bright red color of that tomato paste gets a little bit rusty brown. We're just building layers of flavor by getting that sauteed just a little bit. Won't take very long. This is a nice hot insert. Turn that around, get that tomato paste working in there. Go ahead and take your can of tomato juice. Put him in, stir him around. And you can see as I'm adding that liquid, I'm making sure to scrape that bottom off. If there's any hamburger or anything like that that is stuck to the bottom down there, we want to make sure that we get all those little bits and pieces up off the bottom. All that, what we like to call fond. It's really delicious flavor, number one, but also we don't want anything sticking to the bottom of our insert. If anything is stuck to the bottom of our insert, when we try to put this under pressure, it's going to give us the dreaded burn notice because it thinks something's burning to the bottom. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of liquid in here so that nothing sticks to the bottom. So the machine doesn't think anything's stuck to the bottom. I went ahead and put in that can of fire roasted tomatoes. Like I said, if all you have is just plain old diced tomatoes, absolutely fine. Not a problem whatsoever. The last thing we got to do is pour in our chicken broth. So I shook this up and we want 3 cups of our low sodium chicken broth. That's 2 cups. 1 more cup. This will work out perfect because I like to fill little ice cube trays with chicken broth and give them to my puppy dog as treats. So there's about 1 cup of chicken broth left in this container here. And when there's 1 cup left over, I'll put it into the ice cubes, freeze it, and you'll have a little treat of chicken broth. Or you can just stick that container in your fridge and use it when you go to heat this up. If you have leftovers, you can put a little chicken broth in it to loosen it up so it's not quite so thick or tight or anything like that. So we've got all of our liquids in here. You notice that I did give it just a little bit of a stir. Like I said, you want to make sure that there's nothing stuck to the bottom down there. And then we're going to take it off a saute, and I want you to turn your machine onto pressure cook. And here's the kicker. This is one of the few times that I want you to use low pressure on your pressure cooker. Okay, we're going to set it to 5 minutes at low pressure, not high. We're cooking this pasta, and I don't want to overcook it. I don't want you to have smushy pasta when this comes out. So I want you to set that pressure cooker to low pressure, and I want you to set it for 5 minutes. That's right, it's only going to take it 5 minutes to cook that pasta in here. So low pressure, 5 minutes, and we're going to measure out our pasta and put it in. 3 cups of pasta. You'll notice that that's a ratio, 3 cups of chicken broth, 3 cups of pasta. They match up. So if you decide you want more pasta in this, put more chicken broth in. So if you're going to make 4 cups, if you're going to use 4 cups of pasta, use 4 cups of broth, okay? Now, the other thing that you just noticed there, so we'll put that pasta in, and we're going to put our lid on. Lock your lid down and set it to sealing. This particular version of the Instant Pot is already in a default sealing position. I don't have to set it to sealing. If yours is one of the kind that has the little nozzle up here that goes and says sealing or venting, make sure it's set to sealing, okay? Now, one of the things you just saw, I want to tell you a little bit of a kitchen trick while this is coming up to pressure. Leave your machine now. He's going to come up to its low pressure, cook for 5 minutes, and then we're going to immediately do a quick release and release all the pressure that's inside here, okay? But I want to talk to you real quick because you noticed that when I measured liquids, I used this. When I measured the pasta, I used this. These are 2 different kinds of measuring cups, okay? For those of you that are kitchen beginners, etc. If you measure liquids, you need a liquid measuring cup. This is a liquid measuring cup. You'll measure oils, waters, broths, wine, anything liquid, whipping cream, if you're making desserts, etc. Liquids get measured in a liquid measuring cup like this. Solids, flour, sugar, pastas, rice, grains, etc. They go in a solid measuring cup. This is a solid measuring cup. They come in sets. This liquid measuring cup, as you notice, it has all the different measurements up the side. 1 cup, half cup. This happens to be a 2 cup, so it goes all the way up to 2 cups. It also gives you ounces, 8 ounces. There's 8 fluid ounces in a cup, okay? There's 16 fluid ounces in a pint because there's 2 cups in a pint. So this is a 1 pint, 2 cup measuring cup. It's made by Pyrex. You can get them from Pampered Chefs. They're fantastic. Clearly this one's an old Tupperware version in the avocado green, but I love these. And just make sure that you're using the proper measuring cup because your proportions will be off. If you measure a cup of flour in here, a cup of flour in a liquid measuring cup is not the same as a cup of flour in a solids measuring cup. Make sure you have the right measuring device for measuring when you're doing a recipe. Lots of times people tell me, well, it failed and I don't know why, and then when I start asking them questions, they may have used the wrong type. They may have tried to measure flour in a liquid measuring cup or vice versa. You need to have both in your kitchen, okay? Just a little bit of a kitchen tip, a little bit of knowledge for you as you're learning and growing and developing. It may seem simple to some people, but for those of you that aren't experienced in the kitchen, it's really important to know. We're gonna let this come up to pressure. We're gonna let this cook. And as soon as it's done with its cooking, we're gonna do, like I said, a quick release the pressure, and we'll be ready to eat. So it comes together really quickly in your kitchen here, but especially on a weeknight when you've got busy families, etc., this is a really great meal that comes together pretty quick. We're gonna let this come up to pressure, do its cooking. I'll come back, show you what it looks like on the inside when we release the pressure, and we'll get it served up and ready to eat. Okay, y'all, our pot is beeping, it's done. We're gonna release this pressure. So we're gonna hit the quick release button on it. If you happen to have one that has the lever, just flip that to venting, and otherwise we're gonna just let this vent. I'm gonna push the button right here and we're gonna vent out the steam. All right, our little pin has dropped, which means we can take the lid off of our pressure cooker here. I'll move it back under this one so y'all can see it. You notice that when I went to release the steam on this, I pulled it away from my cabinets. I want you to do that at home too because there is such tremendous steam that comes out of here. You don't want to ruin the finish on your cabinets and your upper cabinets and stuff, things like that nature. But go ahead and take that lid off. Now remember, tip that so any water or condensation up inside that lid goes down in here and not down your arm. It is very hot and it will burn you. This looks amazing. We're going to give it a little stir here. Ooh. Ta-da! There is our goulash. And you'll notice there's still a little bit of liquid in there. That's great because as you eat this, I like to sop up all that liquid with some homemade bread or something like that. But then too, if you refrigerate the leftovers, that liquid's going to give you a nice moisture content to keep it from drying out. But also when you go to reheat it, you'll reliquefy that. So we'll get ourselves a bowl here. Serve up some goulash. I mean, y'all look at that. You can see those peppers and those diced tomatoes, your onions, and the onions have gotten really soft in there, which is really nice, especially if your kids don't like onions. I've got myself a little piece of fresh homemade bread right here to serve with it to sop up all those wonderful juices. And get a fork. Give this a quick taste before I call my husband for dinner. He says, you can call me honey, you can call me baby, you can call me hubby, you can call me Jason, just don't call me late for dinner, right? It's wicked hot, as you can see from all the steam, so be careful, don't burn yourself. Y'all, that pasta is perfectly cooked. There's nice spice from that crushed red pepper that kind of hits you on the back side. The richness of the tomato sauce, the paprika, and that garlic in there with the fire roasted tomatoes, giving it just a little bit of depth of flavor there. I'm telling you, tonight on this cold, crummy winter night, this is fantastic. So get yourself the ingredients, make this on a cold night. If you've got some homemade bread, dip that in that sauce too. Man, that's good. We may have to do a lesson on bread at some point too, y'all. But if you don't have homemade bread, get yourself a loaf of the French bread from the grocery store. Pop it in the oven for the 5 minutes while this is cooking or while you're prepping. You'll have bread, nice hearty meal for your family. Like I said, this reheats really well for leftovers. Just gets more and more depth in its flavor as it sits in the fridge, so it's fantastic. If you make it on a Monday night like tonight, reheat it during the week, fantastic. Super great for lunches too while you're working from home. If you're working from home right now, reheats well, etc. I thank y'all for joining me again here in Mama Fin's kitchen. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. It's going to be right down here in this corner over here. As always, the recipe will be on my blog as well, lfinson.blogspot.com. And I hope you come back and see us again. If you like what you see, like I said, subscribe so you'll be notified of when all the new videos come out, etc. And take care. Stay well. Stay warm right now. Stay healthy. Stay warm. Stay well. Take care of one another. Be kind to one another. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me in Mama Fin's kitchen. Bye, y'all.